Okay, what's up, y'all? Another lesson. Really, lessons I wish I would have known when I was 20 years old. Last month I turned 30, and so I thought about it. What advice would I give my 20-year-old self, knowing what I know now at 30? A decade of difference. Hopefully, somebody who's in their early 20s can listen to this. Or, maybe you're 18 or 19 and it's like, okay, what am I going to do next? What happens next? Hopefully you can take this advice with you. I'm just a guy, but I understand what it's like to be a young man, and it's very confusing, and I will first assure you that getting older is nicer. You become more grounded, you have better access to resources. Ideally, you're more patient and more able to metabolize your feelings, your emotions, your thoughts. You just become your own friend a bit more, and yeah, so stick through. You'll get there. I'm going to upfront tell you the three things, and there are just three things because I want to keep this video concise, and that is Law 23 related to the 48 laws of power. That law is concentrate your energy. So the number one thing is focus. Focus. The second is take more risk. And the third is prioritize connections. So starting from the top again, let's break it down. The focus. 3 points for each of these, right? 3 main points, 3 sub-points. So you need to figure out what works and then floor it. I want you to think of a magnifying glass. If you have that glass pointed down and the ring is large, nothing's really going to happen. But once you angle it just right and that focal point gets really narrow, you can start a fire. The same thing happens with you energetically. If you're dispersed, you can't really get a whole lot done. That is a worthwhile strategy if you're good at playing that game. I can do that. But generally, you need to be hyper-focused on one thing at a time because that's how you make the connection. Thinking about the sun being your energy and, the leaf that you're setting on fire being your goal, you can really move mountains if you can just focus. Just fucking focus, dog. And this society, being able to focus is going to become a superpower because most people have the brain rot, right? Most people aren't going to watch this whole video. Most people can't. Not because they don't want to, but because they actually can't. They've conditioned themselves and been conditioned by really, this magical little device to just not have any attention span. And so if you can foster that in yourself, you're going to be way far ahead. Because your competition can't focus. But if you can focus now, it's a superpower in a world where no one else can do it. This regular thing. So the thing that I've really found that's helped me develop my focus is, 1, meditation, but 2 is this game called Duel in Back. It is very highly studied and shown to improve your fluid memory, but beyond that, it improves a whole host of things, and attention being one of them. So if you go onto the App Store, wherever that is for your device, just look up Duel and Back, learn how to play it real quick, and do 3 games a day. That's not a lot, but it will test you and you will notice improvements. You'll see it directly about you getting better in the game, but that's there for you. So the counter to that is you also need to structure your distractions. So in the same way that you're fully focused on the things that you want to do, you need to also structure your focus on things that aren't helping you. And what I mean by that is there are things that everyone wants to do that just isn't really beneficial. Some people want to scroll their phone. Some people enjoy playing video games. Some people, just want to get drunk, or smoke weed. Those things aren't going to help you. They're really not going to move the needle. But people have vices, and they need to sometimes take their foot off the gas and just chill for a little bit, because there's this, I don't know if euphemism is the word, but it's a Chinese euphemism, which is that the yin is created when the yang is in ascendant. So the yang energy is the masculine polarity. It is your driving force. It is the action ability. But the yin is the rest. It's potential. It's not doing it. It's just, it could be doing anything, and it's the reserve. And so when you press hard on the gas, naturally, that yin is going to come to life and want time as well. And so what I'm saying is, do that. Take the time to do that, but do it in a way where you know, okay, I'm going to give myself 30 minutes to just fuck off. I will scroll. I'm not going to do anything productive. I will just lay here. But it's going to be for 30 minutes. I'll enjoy it. I'll be present for it. I'm going to be active when I do it, so I'm not just like... Sometimes you can relax, but then the time goes by and you're like, I didn't even really relax. I just didn't. My mind was... I didn't calm down. So do those things intentionally as well, because when it's time to turn back on, you're going to be more capable to do that because you've had rest periods, and because you're structuring your distractions or your downtime or your unproductive moments, your lazy days, whatever it is. There's a rhythm to it. It doesn't take you off balance entirely. And that's what you're trying to avoid, because you're on this path. You can wander a little bit, but make sure when you wander, it's structured so that you don't get diverted and go on some other path. Okay? And then so the last point for focus is capitalize on your strengths. So that's part of the first thing where I said figure out what works and then floor it. You've got to figure out what works and then floor it. What are your strengths? What works for you? Your strength needs to get a lot of your attention, okay? Not your weaknesses. Because if you can see this clearly, imagine your hand is like your skills, right? And each point on my hand, you see all these different levels. It's like higher, lower, lower. If you try and work on your weaknesses, all you really do is this. And nothing incredible happens. You're just like okay at a couple things. Versus if you're here and you dramatically improve your strength, now you're extremely exceptional at one thing. You have a weapon. And then you can bring these other ones up over time because you have a super strong foundation. Like, you're fucking ready to go for whatever this thing is, whatever that is for you. So you need to figure out what works for you. Just figure out what kind of character are you. Like, let's think in terms of RPGs, okay? Are you a fucking stealthy rogue? Are you a mage? Are you full strength? What are you doing? What kind of character are you in this lifetime? And then you need to figure out your strengths within all of that framework and then push hard on those things. And then when you have your downtime, structure those, go for it. Don't beat yourself up, because you do need that. You do need the yin to counterbalance the yang, but you have to do it in a way where it doesn't take you off course. So that's the number one of the 3 pieces of advice I would really give to my 20-year-old self, because when you, again, thinking of the analogy of the magnifying glass, when you focus your attention, you can fuck your goals up. You can drive through obstacles. Just think of it as momentum. Another way of considering things is, if there is a wooden wall, fairly thin, in front of me, if I walk up to it, nothing's going to happen. But if I'm sprinting and I charge through, I have a chance to break through that barrier. So your momentum gives you the opportunity to actually break through barriers that you otherwise wouldn't be able to. Second point, take more risks. The stakes are lower and the rewards are higher. When you're younger, you can actually take more risks, and that should be obvious to you. The rewards are higher because you now have a longer time frame. If you get successful in your mid-20s, you now have the rest of your life to enjoy it, right? But if you don't get successful till your mid-30s or 40, you now lost 15 years where you could have been also crushing it, like 15 years of pleasure and like enjoyment and fulfillment. So take the risk when you're younger, because the sooner you get this shit done, the more of your life you can just breathe, right? And the stakes are lower. You don't have these obligations. You don't have to pay your mortgage. You don't have to fucking tend to your wife. You don't have to tend to children. A lot of times, you don't have a pet also in your life. Sometimes you do. But it's like all these obligations pile up the older you get. Maybe you get like some autoimmune disease when you're 37, and it's like, well, now this is something that limits me. I have to take this, I have to be on point every day to make sure I take my medicine or do this. It's like, you're young. There's nothing stopping you. You can fuck up. No one's going to be upset. Like, yeah, you might fail, but you're not letting anyone down, okay? So the risks are lower and the rewards are higher. In that same vein, you have more time to recover. So if you mess up when you're 23 and you lose all your money, maybe you've been saving since you were 19, you saved up like $4,000. If you lost all of that, that sucks, right? But you now have the rest of your life to make it up. But let's say you get to be 37 and you realize like, oh shit, nothing's really going on for me. Like, I got to get the ball rolling. And you try for the first time, and so you have no experience, so of course you're going to fuck up. And now you're 37, it's like, oh shit. You lose 10 years to the young guy who tried earlier. He can catch up, make up for it, go even beyond where he started, and by the time he's 37 and you're 37, two totally different positions in life because one person started earlier. Again, you can see how the rewards are higher. And the last thing to this point is that Lady Luck flirts with the risky. Hopefully you've noticed this in your own life. Hopefully you're not cave dwelling and you're just a shut-in in your room. Hopefully you've taken some risks. And you've noticed that luck tends to be given to people who take risks, right? And so there's an amazing thread, I think it is also in audio, from Naval Ravikant, if I'm remembering his last name correctly, who also has an amazing book called The Almanac. But he has a thread on luck. And he breaks down that there's different types of luck. And there's ways that you can foster luck in your own life. And I really recommend you look into that. If I'm good, then I will remember and I will put it in the description of this video so you can click to it and read it for yourself. But just understand that like you gotta be at the cause of life. You can't just sit back and wait for the effect. Especially if you're a man, you have more yang energy in you. So you need to be doing that. Life isn't just going to give you things the way the feminine receives in life. If you're masculine, you got to work for it, brother. And so you need to be taking these risks, and don't be afraid to take those risks because you have time to make it up if you do fuck up. And if you do fuck up, it's not even a big deal. Like nothing really happened, you know? When your $4,000 goes away, that sucks, but you'll realize when you're in your 40s, losing $40,000 is very different, right? So you need to make the mistakes now with a small amount of money that does mean a lot to you, but relatively small when you're older. So that way, when you have the $40,000 or $400,000, $4 million, whatever it is, you've learned the lessons so you don't have to fuck up when the stakes are higher, okay? The third thing is prioritize connection. Again, think about the RPG analogy. It's in every game. Like, it's a skill set. It's something that makes your life easier. You can gain access to places, to people, to things earlier than you otherwise would. You can avoid situations. You can get better deals on things. Like, it's just a worthwhile skill. And it's also a buffer for your life. Consider having a social circle, having romantic options, and again, all the things I mentioned where, your social skill can get you into or out of certain things. It's a buffer for life. Your life is just going to be easier and better if you can communicate. So one of the things, here we go, ready? One of the things that you might want to focus on, number one point, is your communication skills. Start early. I wish I had started earlier. And I did, but I didn't understand now the perspective that it's like, this is so important. This is really important. And it's like, it's such a passive thing. You see people every day. You communicate with people every day. If you put a little bit of intention into it, you can develop the skill set really easily. And if you're a young person, chances are you're still in school. And so you're surrounded by your peers. You have the opportunity to get reps in all the time. Don't waste that because it will go away. And again, the sooner you figure this shit out, the better the rest of your life will be. It makes sense to figure it out now than 10 years from now, because then you missed out on 10 years of potential. And it's like your network is your net worth. It's worth it, okay? It's worth it. It's a buffer for your life. It's just a buffer for your life. It smooths everything out. It's like lubrication because you're going to need help sometimes, or you're going to need to figure something out. And being able to communicate is the big deal. It's the big deal. It is what makes us human. It is like the most human thing we can do. It is what differentiates us from the animal kingdom. And when you consider what we are as humans, we're very fleshy, we're soft. We need to come together. To beat that saber tooth, to bring down the woolly mammoth, we have to come together. And being able to communicate allows us to coordinate. And so if you can communicate well, you can lead. And being able to lead groups of people to accomplish higher order goals is the thing. Like, that's power. That's human ingenuity. That's what's terrifying to the animal kingdom when they see a horde of us just fucking mobbing on them, doing all this stuff in coordination. So you got to get it down. You got to figure that out. And if you're a young man, hopefully no surprise to you, but women want leaders. And leading means you need to be able to communicate. Now, a point that I didn't write down, but we did get through all of them, is that people don't know what they know. Some people have lived lives that have generated for them very worthwhile experiences and lessons. But because that period or moment in their life was casual, they don't recognize the value of what they learned. So somebody could have information in their mind that's extremely useful if everyone knew it, but to them, it's a very mundane, obvious thing. Like maybe they grew up rich, right? And so they're around people who were financially literate, and they learn things that to them, no-brainers, right? But if the normal person were to hear it, it's like, whoa, this makes my life 5%, 10% better. So people don't know what they know. And communicating allows you to mine the minds of other people and figure out things. And sometimes you have to tease the thread out of them, because if you ask them a question, again, because it's so baseline for them, they may not know to give you that answer to a question you have, because they may assume everyone, duh, this is so obvious. I learned it when I was young. Everyone knows this. So communicating allows you to really dig in and get those nuggets out of people. Okay, so that's my advice. There's, of course, so many other things I could say, but I wanted to narrow it down to 3. I want to keep it succinct, so we're going to close it off here. I will see you next time. Peace.